So you're a Libertarian MPP. People from St. Clair Township come to you and say, we're living near a hazardous waste site named Clean Harbors that's harming us, and we don't think there's enough regulation to stop them. How do you help them?
Take Clean Harbors to court and sue them.
Every single person that runs for the candidacy wants to represent their community and fight for their community's best interests. But we also have to look at the records of these governments when they were in power. You know, Mr. Bailey is talking about asking for a review. The only record that the PCs have on jails is closing them. 16 jails. How many jails has this government closed? 3. Not even 3 at this moment. So if we want to talk about trust, and we want to talk about voting records, we have to look at the whole picture. You know, it's easy to sit up here and say, I'm going to keep the jail open. But I'm not going to be that disingenuous to voters in this community. I've been clear on what I want to do. I want to work with the government. I want to put together an aggressive and proactive strategy to make that government turn around and listen to this community.
What his party would do with Lambton generating station.
All the other three parties seem to be very similar. They want to either close, they want to eliminate coal, which is the most viable form, competitively priced form of baseload generation. You go to China, the solar panels are going on every rooftop. But at the same time, they are building new coal-fired generating stations because they understand you have to be competitive with global economy.
The Ontario government, through its long-term energy plan, has already mandated a decision to be made at the Lambton generating station by 2012 surrounding conversion. Currently, there's an environmental assessment program underway to look at converting to natural gas. Now, people ask me, what do I think about this program? What do I think about this process? I want to keep jobs in Sarnia-Lambton. I see this community as an energy producer. I see this community doing innovative research on storage, on bio-based fuels, on production of natural gas, and importing it out to the province.
I've advocated to keep this station over. I ran on working to keep the station open in 2007. I've advocated for that every day. I took a lot of heat in the legislature from the former Minister Smitherman, at the time. And I've sent a letter months ago to the Energy Minister, long before they announced the study, urging them, saying that we had to move to gas if they were, as all the parties agreed by 2014, 2015 to move off coal.
Many years ago, Conservative government took a big chunk of welfare and disability rates, and those rates have not returned. And these people are living on the very edges of society. What do you plan to do as an NDP member of Parliament?
This government does know how to give low and middle income families a break. We introduced the Ontario Child Benefit to help single families. We're looking at tax reform to make this province more competitive so people can find work when they need it. So we do need to set the record straight here on what our governments are and are not doing. Thanks, Stephanie.
Social services are there for when people need them. They've paid taxes in the past, or their parents have, to purchase those benefits for them. And I think that the sooner we can reward people that are willing to go out and find a job and try in some way to make their way in the world, if we can somehow let them keep more and more of their benefits so they pull themselves, lift themselves out of poverty, is the best way.
We will claw back the first $300 a month of earnings for ODSP recipients who take a job. That's a fair opportunity for people to keep that money. So let's make that clear.
This is a question for Bob Bailey. If re-elected MPP, what are you specifically going to do to create jobs, and how would a Conservative government bring back jobs to Sarnia?
We need to grow the private sector again. Get the government out of the way. We have 550,000 regulations. 550,000 regulations in Ontario. BC went through this just recently. They reduced theirs down to 300 and some thousand. They didn't fall off into the Pacific after doing that. The BC economy is growing and prospering, and we can do that here in Sarnia-Lambton. So I want to be a strong advocate for the Sarnia-Lambton community. I've tried to do that for the last 4 years, and I'll continue to do that as the next one.
We do have to talk about the jobs that have been created in Sarnia-Lambton. We have to talk about the jobs that we created in stimulus funding, the jobs that we created through the Green Energy Act, which the PCs would put at risk by scrapping the microfit program. We're on track to create close to 50,000 jobs in this province. We have to create a new industry. We're coming out of a recession where this government has been so aggressive in their tax policies and open for business that we have recovered 115% of jobs lost during the recession. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens with good fiscal policy and making businesses more competitive. We have taken steps to reduce the regulatory burden on businesses, 17.2% of the burden. But we also have to be mindful that you don't just walk in and slash regulations without looking at health, safety, labor laws, environmental concerns, like we're seeing right now at Clean Harbors in Sarnia-Lambton. So a job retention and development strategy, governments have to create the environment for businesses to thrive and create those jobs.
I do feel compelled to ask the question about the tax grant for immigrants and what damage that might do to the opportunities for local people to find employment or get training.
This is a skills training credit. This is for people who are living as Canadian citizens, taxpayers in this province, who are highly trained as physicians, PhD students, engineers. This is an untapped labor force that currently costs our economy $5 billion a year. What this is about is putting people back to work. This targets those highly skilled Ontarians who've been trained outside of this province and who are unable to get the certification that they need to work. We have a choice with our taxpayers' dollars. We can choose to fund people who are currently underemployed, who are on Ontario Works or other social programs, or we can invest in these people who have the skills, put them to work in our hospitals and in our labs, and engineers, and they can contribute to our economy so that we all move forward together. So I repeat, this is about putting people back to work. This doesn't pit one person against the other. This is tapping into skills that are there and are being underutilized. If I could add just one more thing. We want to talk about, doctor shortages and how we can recruit physicians to this community. There are people who are living in Ontario who have been trained as physicians outside of Ontario. Those people need to be put to work because they need to be treating patients and contributing to the healthcare community. That is what this is about.
We have a plan in place that would offer $5,000 to the employer for creating a new job at the end of the year. So that's a new full-time position. So that's number one. And just for fun, I'll address the doctor issue, and we will forgive the student loans of 200 doctors who relocate to rural environments, underserviced areas.
There is a problem here. I agree with that. Ontario College of Physicians. We have really qualified people here, and I think Ontario College of Physicians are all in it. We have a surgeon from Iraq living right here in Sarnia. I think he manages the Mac store and also works at the gas station. This is so bad because it happens all over. We do have those qualified people. They cannot really get basic internship residence and so on. People do write exams, they're excellent, they pass them all. They still are not given a license to practice as a doctor. There's people who came, the best doctors around. They sort of classify them. You go to Toronto, there's all those people who call themselves naturopaths. And they advertise properly, they say they are medical doctors from another country. They cannot write prescriptions. People come to them because they trust that they know they're good. Those people have to go to another doctor, someone to write a prescription. This is insane, and it's been like this for over 30 years right now.
And I was wondering why you didn't support Bill 45, the anti-scab legislation, and what conservative, what agenda, labor agenda conservative government would look like.
I don't remember when we had that bill voted on, but if I was there, it was probably a position our caucus took at the time, and I could have chose to be, and I don't know if I was there or not, but I could have chose to be absent that day, but if I voted against it, it was because I didn't believe. I think if I'm there, I need to take a stand, right or wrong, in your opinion. That was the position I took. Our caucus probably took a position, I don't know now. I'd have to say that's the best answer I can give you, but I'll find out for sure and get back to you. Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Brian, wait.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Bailey blocked it. That was a bill that was introduced by France Jalana, NDP, MPP, so I just wanted to clarify.
Liberal government made changes about 2 years ago to the way they compensate for generic drugs, and this has resulted in savings in taxpayers and people paying cash themselves for $500 million. So that was a good thing. But what I'd like to know, Stephanie, is are there other things that the Liberal Party is planning to do that will similarly address health costs and continue to have affordable health care for Ontario citizens?
We all agree that we want to build the capacity in the community to keep people out of the hospitals. We know that it costs far more to build and to fund hospital beds annually. It costs far less to keep people in their homes, to build the capacity through family health teams, through nurse practitioner clinics. And the one thing that I am very proud, one of the many things that I'm proud to stand on, is our record and our commitment to continue to build that sector. So we're bringing in house calls. We're bringing in 3 million more hours of personal support workers. We're bringing in a healthy home renovation tax credit so that people can age in their homes. And when they are in need of care, they can get that care in the community without ever having to go into the emergency room.
Hi, my name is Julie Archer, and my question is for Stephanie Berry. I believe it was Monday, you said that an MPP should always be plugged into the riding. How can you be plugged into the riding when you just arrived in July?
What I did was leave to go to university, which is what many young people do in this community. I went to university, I broadened my horizons, and do you know what I did? I came back to Sarnia-Lambton to represent and work for these people. And that is something that I want to encourage more young people to do. Why are we beating up on the people that left to get an education and chose to come back to this community? I grew up here. I spent in India, in Ottawa, in Korea. I'm proud of what I can do and bring into this community. Thank you, Stephanie.
The biggest business, if you will call it that, in Ontario is the government. The second biggest business is the court system. The laws surrounding the courts, not just pertaining to FRO, but almost everything, is subjective rather than objective. They have a self-interest to grow. They don't really want to fix problems. They want to exacerbate problems. They want to pick people up. The Libertarian Party will change.
What is your party's vision, long-term vision for the province? And I don't mean from now until the next election. I mean like from farther out than that. Like, how are they going to deal with increasing cost of energy, increasing aging of the population, that sort of thing?
We have to look at how all of the dots connect to produce what we want at the end of the day. We need a highly trained, highly skilled labor force. We're achieving that in our education sector, where we're bringing in full-day kindergarten to give our kids the best start. We want to be a leader in green energy. We want to be a leader in an industry where people look to Ontario as an example. We want to be one of the strongest economies, and we're on track to do that. Ontario is one of the second fastest growing economies in North America. We are also one of the most attractive places for foreign investment and for turning that investment into jobs. We have a vision, and we ask people as candidates and in our campaigns to look at how we connect the dots, look at where the party wants to go. And I think that when we look at the future, I'm proud to stand as a candidate, because as a young candidate, that's the most important factor here for me. Where will we be in my future? Where will Sarnia-Lambton be in 5, 10, 15 years down the road? We do need to look beyond these pocketbook issues and ask the tough questions. What's your strategy, what you're going to do, and what is the structure that's there to help you do it?